Ever catch yourself staring in the mirror and like, what is going on with consciousness?
Yeah.
That's what we're unpacking today.
Absolutely.
Deep diving into self122.137.pdf.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Exploring what makes you, you.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
We use the word conscious all the time,
Right.
but we don't really get it. This source material really digs deep.
Oh, right.
It argues that it's not just being awake.
Right.
It's about having this internal model of yourself,
Okay.
and understanding how that interacts with the world around you.
Okay, so we've got to unpack this self thing.
Sure.
Because the text makes a distinction between mind and consciousness.
Yeah.
Which I'd never really thought about before.
Right.
So are we saying that just because we have thoughts doesn't mean we're conscious?
That is exactly the point.
Whoa.
So imagine your mind is this bustling city with like cars honking, lights flashing, stuff's always happening.
Yeah.
But your consciousness,
Okay.
that's like focusing on a specific neighborhood.
Okay.
The sights and sounds you're experiencing right then.
Yeah.
Everything else is still going on. But you're not consciously aware unless you shift your focus.
So you can have all this like background noise of memories and worries.
Yeah.
And like that song stuck in your head
Absolutely.
that you're not even really conscious of
Yeah.
until bam.
Exactly.
Listen.
It grabs your attention. And the source material uses some
Yeah.
really interesting kind of unnerving examples.
Okay.
Neurological case studies. Have you ever heard of epileptic automatism?
Yeah. And then that part kind of sent shivers down my spine a little.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
someone's there, but not really there.
Yes.
They're moving around, but there's no sense of self.
And that's what makes it so powerful.
Right.
The example they give
Okay.
is a man who stops mid-conversation
Yeah.
and his actions are just totally disconnected
Right.
from what's going on.
It's like that sense of self.
It's fragile.
Yeah.
It can be disrupted. And then there's the woman in a vegetative state.
Oh, yeah. And that really got me.
It's a sensitive topic,
Yeah.
but an important one.
Yeah, for sure.
And even though she wasn't responsive
Right.
in the traditional sense,
Right.
her brain activity was actually lining up with the questions they were asking her.
So even in a state where we assume there's no consciousness,
Right?
there might be more going on.
It's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah, it is.
It might not be an on or off switch.
All right.
It might be more of a spectrum.
Like degrees of awareness.
Exactly.
Okay, so that leads us to
Yeah.
core consciousness versus extended consciousness.
This is where it gets really interesting. Think about it this way. You're not always
Okay.
at the same level of awareness. Sometimes you're just present. Like that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, just enjoying it.
That's your core consciousness.
Just in the moment.
You're present, experiencing it,
Yeah.
not overthinking it.
But then there's this expansion into extended consciousness.
And we've all experienced this.
Okay.
Planning a vacation.
Right.
And suddenly you're flooded with memories
Yes.
from past trips.
Totally.
Or you're talking about your brother's new job and you start thinking about your own career goals.
Yeah.
That's your extended consciousness
Wow.
kicking in,
Okay.
drawing on memories, future plans.
So it's like our awareness is constantly shifting,
It is.
depending on what we're doing and thinking about.
And this means there's a lot happening
Okay.
beneath the surface
Okay.
in that vast unconscious
Right.
we were talking about.
But we'll get to that.
We'll dive into that
Possibly.
a little bit later.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about some specific neurological cases that illustrate these different levels of awareness. These neurological cases are so interesting because they show how our brains can function in such different ways.
Yeah.
Like the source material talks about blind sight.
Okay.
So imagine someone with damage to their visual cortex.
Okay.
They can't actually see the traditional sense, but
Mm-hmm.
they can still navigate around obstacles.
Wait, how is that even possible?
Right.
They can't see, but they're not bumping into things.
It seems like a paradox.
Yeah.
But it suggests that some visual information gets processed unconsciously. It bypasses those usual pathways
Wow.
for conscious sight.
So it's like their brains are still seeing,
Yeah.
even if they don't know it.
It's like their city of the mind
Okay.
still has those traffic cameras sending information.
Right.
Even if the main office isn't getting the live feed.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much more
Right.
going on than what we're consciously aware of.
Speaking of,
Right.
let's go to that unconscious territory that we were talking about before.
All the cool stuff happening behind the scenes.
The source material uses this great example
Okay.
of overhearing snippets of conversation at a party.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
we've all been there.
yeah,
Great.
you're half listening.
Yeah.
Your brain's processing the words,
Right.
but you're not really aware
Exactly.
until you hear your name
Someone says your name.
or something you're interested in.
Or a topic you're interested in.
And then suddenly it breaks through.
It breaks through that filter.
Yeah.
That's it.
So our unconscious mind
Right.
is kind of like this gatekeeper,
Yeah.
deciding what we need to be aware of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if our unconscious is already doing all that,
Right.
what's the point of consciousness?
Well, according to the source material,
Yeah.
consciousness allows for deliberation.
Okay.
We can actually...
So we can like
Yes,
put the brakes on autopilot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the ability to not just react,
Right.
but to choose
Wow.
to shape our own destiny.
Okay, so it's like consciousness gave us free will.
Yes.
Wow.
The ability to plan for the future.
Right.
To learn from the past.
To imagine new realities.
Exactly.
Things we couldn't do otherwise.
We couldn't do without it.
That's incredible.
It is amazing.
Makes you wonder about animals then.
Yeah.
Could my dog be conscious?
It's a question.
The source material kind of left it open.
Philosophers and scientists
Yeah.
have been wondering forever, and there's no easy answer.
Right.
But animals have similar brain structures and behaviors,
Right.
especially mammals.
Yeah.
So it suggests
Okay.
some degree of consciousness is likely there.
Makes sense.
Even that basic core consciousness
Right.
would be a huge advantage.
For
To
survival.
recognize danger, find food,
Yeah.
interact with the environment. It all points to the idea
Okay.
that consciousness isn't all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's more like a dimmer switch,
Okay.
different levels,
Interesting.
evolved gradually. Maybe
Yeah.
human consciousness
Okay.
with language and all that.
Yeah.
It's just a more advanced version of
Great.
this ancient drive.
So we've got this whole spectrum
Yeah.
from core consciousness
Uh,
to extended
Exactly.
autobiographical awareness.
right.
And the source material says,
Yeah.
even when we're not thinking about ourselves,
Right.
it's still there,
Yeah.
humming along
It is.
in the background,
Yeah.
influencing everything.
all our experience.
It's like this hidden part of us
Right.
shaping our reality.
Yeah.
And we don't even know it.
It makes you think about free will. Like,
But-
how much do we really have?
If it's all happening in the background,
Right.
it's like we're not really in control.
It's a real head scratcher.
Yeah, it is.
The source material even talks about dreams,
Oh, yeah.
where things get really weird.
Totally.
We're not consciously directing those,
No, not at all.
but they still tap into something.
They do.
Our deepest fears and desires.
I had this crazy dream the other night,
Yeah.
being chased by a giant squirrel.
A giant squirrel.
It was talking.
Oh, wow.
No idea what that means.
The unconscious mind.
Right.
It's a trip.
It really is.
But that's what makes this so fascinating.
Yeah.
Understanding the brain, but also understanding ourselves.
We're more complex than we think.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
as we wrap up,
Okay.
what's the main thing
Yeah.
you want listeners to take away?
I think the big takeaway,
Yeah.
consciousness isn't a thing.
Okay.
It's not a destination. It's a process.
It's happening all the time.
It's always evolving.
Wow.
And we may never fully get it,
Right.
but just paying attention
Oh,
to
yeah.
our own experience,
Right.
our thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
that can be really powerful.
Like we're all explorers.
Exactly.
Our own minds.
Every new insight just
Right.
adds to the mystery.
Oh, so true.
So next time you're daydreaming or lost in a good book or just enjoying that coffee,
Yeah.
take a second.
Okay.
Appreciate your own awareness.
It is pretty amazing.
It's a gift,
Yeah.
a mystery,
Right.
and an invitation.
To keep exploring.
Exact.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thanks.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll wrap up this deep dive
Great deep dive.
into consciousness.
Yeah.
Remember, listeners,
Yeah.
this is just the beginning.
Keep exploring.
Keep asking those big questions.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.